It's always a pleasure to be here, and I am Harsha Vathsavayi, a product manager from Roche Digital Technology Organization. And today I'm excited to share our journey towards enhancing developer experience and the role of HashiCorp and automation in that journey. So now to set the stage, I want to start with the picture that I'm sure many of you working at the large enterprises would find familiar. So like Corbinian mentioned yesterday, in the before talk, in large enterprises, we always see a zoo of tools. So for example, you have multiple CI/CD tools, multiple version systems, and multiple automation tools, all trying to do same task in a bit of different way. And what happens with a lot of these tools is that many times getting access to these tools is via ServiceNow ticket. And in big companies, you have really like thousands or even in some cases millions of catalog items. So you can understand the experience of a developer getting access to those or even finding right catalog item in ServiceNow. So, okay. And this often leads to like developer burnout because, I guess many of you have been like, taking the role of developer, and developers don't like to, open a ticket and wait for the ticket to resolve. They want to get access to the systems or like tools or resources as soon as possible and want to start developing the work, right? So this leads to loss of developer productivity and at the same time delay in software as well, because it's very important to have good developer experience so developers can focus on writing what they love. That's like writing code rather than navigating around redundant tools, filing tickets, and waiting for someone to pick up a ticket and respond. And if you look at this is not just a developer productivity problem. It's a like massive big business problem. Why? Because all these redundant tools cost licenses, which kind of increases your IT bill. And at the same time, if the tools are not managed well, they pose a potential security risk. And you all know security risks are very expensive to mitigate. So this is the challenge we set to solve. And to talk about the scale at which the challenge is in our company, I want to kind of talk a little bit about what we do. I just want to do a quick pulse check. How many of you have seen this blue logo or heard of Roche before? Wow. Yeah, good to see that many of you know what we do. So for those who do and those who don't, so our entire company operates under a single and powerful mission. That's we advance science so that we all have more time with the people we love. This is the main mission of the company. And to dive into some facts about the company, so it's a 128-year-old company based out of Switzerland, and we are a leader in healthcare R&D. So we invest like we are one of the big investors into R&D in healthcare industry. So in 2024 alone, we invested 13 billion CHF into R&D. And also, our impact is immense. For example, in 2024 alone, we treated around 26 million people with our medicines, and our diagnostic instruments have done over 30 billion diagnostic tests. So it's like the scale at which we operate is really immense. And to do that, we need to really have a big workforce as well. So as a company, we operate globally across 150 countries, and we have over 103,000 employees internally working as one unit. And these are just like internal employees, but we have also, again, thousands of external managed service providers or consultants working with us to support us in the journey. And we focus on also multiple business areas like diagnostics, pharmaceuticals, and health insights. And because of that, the way we operate is also distinct because the business areas operate in different sectors and different regulations as well. So I want you to imagine the amount of developer effort we are wasting due to tool sprawl across a company of this size and complexity. It's humongous. It's like, and this is where we come in. So we are part of a Roche developer platform team, and our main mission is to deliver a best-in-class developer experience to our software engineering community so that they can deliver better software at faster pace and with built-in security and compliance. Why we are talking about faster pace is that if you see, the world of software engineering is changing constantly. I mean, 2 years back, no one talked about vibe coding, but today everyone talks about vibe coding. So all of our software engineering teams want to try out modern tools. Everything that comes out, someone with a credit card will go and try to buy and start using the tool. And if you don't control it, it just expands, and it's difficult to control. And at the same time, operating in the healthcare industry, it's very important for us to have built-in security and compliance, because everything that we generate has to be validated. When an audit happens, we need to know how things are put in place, so that there's a kind of provenance of how things have evolved over the time. And to kind of show the glimpse of the scale at which we operate, so our software engineering community is over 20,000 software developers working globally, and this community manages over 100,000 Git repositories. And in those repositories, we have over 1 billion lines of code. So you might imagine it's a healthcare company, but the amount of software we write in the company is like immense. And so far, I think we process like in general millions of CI/CD jobs. We have around 33 million CI/CD jobs processed through our CI/CD tool chains. And as a platform team, we are responsible for the source code and artifact management tools, AppSec tools, and CI/CD tools. And when I mention tools, they are really like multiple tools of every kind. It's because in pharma, what happens is that many times the company buys other companies. So because of that, we also kind of inherit the tools that company was using. And it's our job to make sure that these are integrated well into our offering so that we have a seamless experience. Okay. So one might be wondering why, developer experience is important. Because in our case, it's a strategic goal for us because it allows us to accelerate our digital transformation. And at the same time, it enhances our operational excellence so that we can standardize how we build and operate. When having multiple business areas working together, if we don't standardize, you create a lot of waste. So you want to make sure that you standardize things in a well-defined manner. And also, it helps us to boost developer productivity and retention so that we kind of attract good talent to the company and then make sure that employees are within the company for longer periods of time. And ultimately, for us, it's all about offering a seamless experience to our business partners so that they can focus on doing now what patients need next. So now I want to talk about how we have approached this challenge. So it's clear that we have to improve developer experience. So what we did, the first obvious step was, okay, let's go and create a centralized developer portal. So we started with that. And our vision was simple. It's like, let's create simplified interfaces so that developers can quickly onboard and use the system. This is how we started. And what happened was that we have built the platform, and then we realized that asking 20,000 people to go and use one portal is not enough. So soon we realized that we had to ask ourselves, is a portal enough to kind of solve all the needs? And the answer was hard no. Why? Because we realized that development teams started creating redundant workflows. So because traditionally they operate differently in different regions, so they were not talking to each other, so they are all trying to do the same thing. And then other thing was that the interfaces were fragmented. So without proper understanding or knowledge training, in many cases the workflows were linking to other ServiceNow tickets or other systems. So still the experience was disjointed. It was not an automation workflow. So one automation workflow was leading and creating a ticket in another automation system or in another ServiceNow queue. And other thing was that the processes were very inconsistent. The way the teams were using the platform was quite scattered. And because of that, the experience was not good as well. And finally, what happened was that the cloud costs began to rise. We started offering self-service workflows to kind of spin up environments in cloud. So because of that, people started using cloud a lot. But without any guardrails on the cost, the cloud costs began to rise. This is what we have seen when we just ask the development teams to go and use the developer portal. Then we realized that a beautiful UI is not enough. We need to really embrace automation and governance to make sure that we solve developer needs. Why? Because it is important to eliminate manual handoffs so that one workflow doesn't create a ticket to another system and then you delay the whole process. You need to ensure that everything is automated from the start so that developers can quickly get access to what they need. And the second one is that the processes has to be consistent. So everything that they ask for example, asking for a virtual machine, on-prem or cloud, it has to follow the same process, rather than asking them to fill bringing ITL-related practices to developer portal doesn't solve the problem. It again creates the problem in another way. We have to solve that as well. And then other thing is that as the company operates globally, it's important to kind of have 24/7 access, because what we often see is that some teams in US start, need to, have a VM, they create a ticket, but then the team responsible for creating the VM is somewhere in India, so they work the next day. So you have delay of getting access, and we wanted to kind of avoid it. We want to kind of make it everything available as quickly as possible. And other thing is that codifying best practices. It's important to codify all the security and compliance practices so that others can reuse them. Otherwise, it's like you are creating a lot of waste. This is what we want to solve, and how we started approaching this is that we wanted to change the design of our self-service portal. So we started, using Terraform as the foundation of the self-service portal, and we started scaling our automation with Terraform. So every new workflow that's being introduced into the platform, we said, guys, you must use Terraform, so that all the workflows has to be somehow integrated with the Terraform, and everything has to be auditable. So Terraform became a foundation of our self-service automation, and we started creating self-service workflows for provisioning across on-prem, cloud, and edge infrastructure. This has really helped us, to accelerate, developer journey towards getting resources, and at the same time, reduce the onboarding time as well. And other thing is that beyond that, one important characteristic of Terraform is that we enable cloud estimation or cost estimation, so that we know how much cloud spend we are going to create. When people use our self-service workflows, they know beforehand how much cost they are going to account for. And then we had guardrails in place so that teams know that if the cost is going up, we would fail the workflow. And I just want to show you a picture to show what happens when you ask teams to just go and use the developer portal. Okay, so we created a self-service portal and then asked all the development teams, okay, guys, go and start use the portal to create templates and start consuming it. So what happened was that we have really hundreds of development teams operating globally. So a team started creating Terraform module, and then deploying into using the module to create EKS cluster. Good. And then another team started doing the same thing. So they had their own EKS module, and then again doing the same thing, like deploying in their own AWS account. And the third team also have done the same way. So if you see that, we realized that by solving one problem, we are creating another problem. So this is like workflow sprawl. So teams were again repeating the same things. And this is very expensive, because now if there's a vulnerability on an AMI that you have to patch it, now you have to change all the 3 modules. And imagine this is just 3 projects, but if we have hundreds of projects, on what scale we have duplicate code. So what we have done is that once, we started looking at these patterns, we reached out to our platform team and asked them, guys, let's avoid this. Let's create a standardized no-code module for EKS. So now we have like a no-code EKS module that's done by like a platform team running containers as service. And that's made available through the self-service portal so that all projects will start using this no-code module. Now, the advantage of this is that when we want to update the AMI, we publish it through a no-code module, and it's easy for the teams to go and update it from their Terraform workspaces. And at the same time, all the guardrails and then better best practices we are embedding into this no-code module. This is how we started understanding the patterns and started solving the standardization problem. So one more advantage we get is that by standardizing on Terraform, we can streamline and then make processes compliant, because every action is codified and version controlled. So we know who has introduced the change, why, and we can reach out to them and understand what is the rationale for making the change. And this is very important for us to enforce security and compliance as well, so that we no need to run around teams asking who has created what. Because at our scale, if we don't manage well, it's really difficult to understand who has introduced the change and why, and when a vulnerability happens, whom to reach out to. That's a kind of very big challenge. On top of that, the no-code templates have helped us for enabling consistency and cost control as well. Why? Because for all the no-code modules, we try to enable cost wherever possible so that the teams don't overrun. Because over the years, what we realized is that if we ask teams to just go and use the platform, they use it. But then, if there is no cost control, the cost just rakes up. And other thing is that since everything is in version control and put in the code, it also helps us to kind of ease in maintenance and debugging, because the amount of changes that we have to make have reduced. For example, if you look at the EKS module, having tens or hundreds of EKS modules to one module is easier for us to maintain and evolve. And our story doesn't stop here. So we operate in a hybrid cloud fashion. So we have complex on-prem configuration needs. But what used to happen, or what's happening till now, is that in on-prem world, most of the provisioning is happening with Terraform. But for configuration management and for ensuring that the infrastructure is compliant with the policies, we use Ansible heavily. But then the teams operate differently. So one team is responsible for provisioning the VMs, and then another team comes in like a handover, and they use Ansible automation platform in this case for configuring the VMs and making sure the inventory is up to date, and others can use the inventory to kind of make changes. So this has been very disconnected process. Now I'm happy to hear from latest HashiCorp about the HCP Terraform actions. We are looking into use those so that we can fulfill our automation from end to end. Because in our developer portal, now the things are the team responsible for cloud provisions the Terraform-based cloud resources, and the team managing on-prem, they have their own Ansible-based workflow. They are not integrating together because there was no way to integrate directly. Now we are looking at using this so that we can have end-to-end automation, and it is essential for us so that we understand how different teams can be bring together and then use same tool stack for enabling automation. So let's put all this together. So what has happened, or what has changed in our developer portal after we started standardizing is that earlier it used to be manual ticketing and privilege requests, separate privilege requests. So I suppose many of you working at large enterprises would know that getting access to a VM is you request a VM, and then if you want to install something, you need to again open another ticket for a privileged request. This is how we used to operate as well. Now everything is codified in terms of a self-service catalog. So you just go there and then choose the self-service catalog and then fill in some information. Immediately they get access. And while doing the initial request, we also ask the teams, for example, in case of cloud infrastructure, we ask them how long they want to use the infrastructure. Is it like 10 days or 20 days? And we use, Terraform ephemeral workspaces, so we automatically destroy the infrastructure once based on the time that the developers need. And the second one is, without governance, the cloud costs were increasing without any controls. So now by default, we are adding some controls on what kind of resources they can spin up or how much cost estimation it happens like per month and all. Those kind of controls we have in place. And this is example of one team, one business area. So earlier it used to take them 5 hours to create a validated project setup. What we mean by a validated project setup is that, so you have SCM systems, CI/CD tools, and monitoring tools, all of them. You need to make sure that all of them are integrated well, and we don't want to tell our developers just to go and integrate yourself, because that's a complex thing. Earlier, people used to create separate requests to integrate them. Now, one platform team tried to integrate all of them in our developer portal, and it has made a big difference. So imagine from 5 hours to 6 minutes for a complete validated setup is kind of, it's a huge saving. And the final thing is that we noticed multiple redundant workflows, and we try to kind of gather all those workflows and create a common no-code template for those workflows. This has really helped us to streamline and identify common patterns, and at the same time find correlation between the teams, and also build community of practices so that we know how teams from different areas are working on same problems. Because a company operating globally, when you have someone from West Coast and someone from Europe, they don't interact each other if they are not working in the same business areas. But now when they all are using one system, with same kind of needs behind, it also helps us to kind of standardize and put everything together. So to summarize, the impact we have seen is speed, savings, and security and satisfaction. So what we noticed is that, as I have mentioned earlier, onboarding reduced drastically from hours to minutes, and this directly translates to our digital transformation, because it's helping us to accelerate our digital transformation. And the second one is, we try to automatically shut down resources after certain period is expired or after the period that the developers tell us, so that this helped us to control cloud cost. Why? Because without that, we noticed that many teams, they ask for sandbox environments. They spin up something, but they don't use them. So it's like you spin up something, and after 1 month, it's still running. And the auditable Terraform workflows helped us to ensure that all the workflows are secure and compliant. And it's very important for us, because as being operated in regulated industry, we need to always make sure that what changes are going on. And when someone comes and asks us, we need to show them why certain change has been implemented. And finally, the developers are now able to use self-service workflows and get access to the resources they need. It has helped us to improve developer autonomy and satisfaction. And our management is happy because it has boosted developer experience, but it's a journey. We are not there yet. We are going to reach there. And then, to summarize, I also to give some key takeaways from our journey. So what we noticed is that, we don't get everything right from the first time. So we started with developing our own portal, and we see it caused a lot of issues. So governance is key. Make sure that govern what is going into the platform. Otherwise, it becomes again another sprawl. So over the time, we noticed we have hundreds of catalog items. Again, in our self-service portal, and finding who created what for what purpose became a pain. So always try to kind of enforce governance from the beginning to understand what's happening or who is doing what. And the second one is that enable controls to automatically shut down cloud infrastructure wherever possible. Otherwise, accidentally, you would like rake up cloud costs. This is key because many times, like teams are not even aware of how much resources they use, because someone might be using like a big resource, but they don't need it actually. And another thing is that enforce automation from the start. So don't use like developer portal as interface to another ticketing system. Make sure that the flow happens in the same portal so that everything is end to end. And finally, if you don't limit the workflow sprawl, it again leads to another kind of problem. Then you have to again start fixing it. So always try to see the common patterns for the use cases and create or promote golden paths. Thank you, and I'm open to Q&A.